Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Los Angeles. Today we're going to look at Metro's proposed Vermont Avenue Red Line subway extension, a project that could separate the red and purple lines and provide the densely populated, economically depressed, and already transit-dependent neighborhoods along Vermont Avenue with some of the best and fastest interurban rail service ever seen in the state of California. A glorious, complete reversal of course following many decades of environmental racism, car-centric urban planning, and disinvestment. Access to adequate and affordable public transportation is the number one factor in any individual's ability to escape from poverty, so a new public transportation line of this quality through some of the poorest neighborhoods in Los Angeles County would be a game changer in every sense. But to understand the significance of this project, it helps to have some background on how Metro Rail came to be in the first place. In the waning years of the 1970s, following several decades of inaction, the County of Los Angeles had become fed up with the increasingly obsolete and congested freeway system's monopoly on public transportation in Southern California. To remedy the situation, Proposition A was placed on the 1980 ballot and passed into law by Los Angeles County voters. For the first time in history, Los Angeles had not only a concrete plan to rebuild its long-lost interurban electric railway system, but also the funds it would need to do so. When voters went to the polls that year, the only piece of today's Metro Rail and bus rapid transit network that already existed was the El Monte busway, which had been constructed in the 1970s and which now serves as the northeastern portion of Metro's Silver Line bus service. Skeptics of the day said that rail could never again work in Los Angeles. Los Angeles was too sprawling and not dense enough to bother spending the money, they would say. Some claimed that the redevelopment of rail would be to the detriment of existing bus riders, and were unwilling to believe that the two modes could complement each other with their respective strengths and weaknesses. All were proven wrong, for in not too many years, the El Monte busway would no longer be the only meaningful piece of dedicated public transportation infrastructure in the County of Los Angeles. This map shows the original vision for Los Angeles Metro Rail, as presented to LA County voters in 1980. On a typically beautiful day in 1990, the first Metro Rail line opened to the public, the Metro Blue Line, which today runs from downtown Los Angeles to Long Beach. In 1993, the first section of the Metro Red Line subway was opened to the public, running from Union Station to MacArthur Park. In 1995, the Metro Green Line was completed as part of the 105 freeway, which, as the concept of induced demand and the need for walkable, breathable, transit-oriented neighborhoods becomes better known and understood by local policymakers, will hopefully be the final or second-last freeway ever to be constructed in Los Angeles County, depending on whether or not a new freeway is constructed in the high desert as part of the planned Express West bullet train from LA to Las Vegas. In the year 2000, the Metro Red Line tunnel to the San Fernando Valley was completed, and the subway as we currently know it was born. In 2003, the first section of the Metro Gold Line was opened to the public, connecting Union Station with Pasadena and the San Gabriel Valley. In 2005 and 2009, Metro opened its two current bus rapid transit lines, the Orange Line to Chatsworth and the Silver Line extension to San Pedro. Both were originally intended to be rail lines. In the years to come, additional portions of Metro's original 1980 rail plan will come online, including extensions to LAX, Westwood, Long Beach via Torrance, and a brand new line from LAX all the way north to Sylmar via the 405 and the Sepulveda Pass. Since the Metro Silver Line exists almost entirely in the medians of the 10 and the 110 freeways, a theoretical Silver Line rail conversion would only be as useful as the Metro Green Line, which has the lowest ridership of all of Metro's rail lines, thanks to the aforementioned reasons, and of course, the lack of a direct connection to Metrolink trains in Norwalk. So while it is theoretically possible to convert the Silver Line to rail as originally intended, it would not be worth the expense, especially when there is an alternative rail route that would serve the same neighborhoods with far more walkable and desirable service: Vermont Avenue. Vermont Avenue has always been a transit-oriented street. In the first half of the 20th century, the street's broad median hosted tracks of the Los Angeles Electric Railway's F-Line from Athens to Boyle Heights, among others. While all Los Angeles streetcar service ended in 1963, the constituency for public transportation along Vermont Avenue did not disappear. To this day, the north-south bus routes running along Vermont, Normandy, and Western Avenues are some of the most heavily trafficked bus lines in the United States. The lack of rail service since the end of streetcar service, however, fits into a broader pattern of political discrimination against historically transit-dependent working-class neighborhoods of color, many of which were economically devastated by the loss of passenger rail service and the convenient, affordable access to downtown jobs that had gone with it, but never saw the public investment needed to remedy the situation. At least until now. Measure M won in a landslide at the ballot box, and that was very much by design. In the months leading up to the election, city and county officials repeatedly altered the order in which certain projects were prioritized, in order to appease key voting blocs in neighborhoods that were seen as likely to vote against the measure if their local projects were not prioritized. Since the Vermont Avenue constituency largely consisted of people who already used transit, their votes were taken for granted, and in the months leading up to the election, most of the public discussion revolved around projects in areas that were seen as politically important, and not around the projects that would be best able to serve the greatest total number of riders. But at least in LA, that pattern is finally beginning to change. Fresh off the successful passage of 2016's Measure M, in March 2017 the Metro Board of Directors made a seemingly small alteration to Metro's Measure M plan. Instead of continuing the long tradition of ignoring transit-dependent neighborhoods of color in the infrastructure budget, the directors agreed that the amount of need for reliable transit along Vermont Avenue was simply too great to be constrained by upgraded bus service alone. So they decided that in addition to the planned bus rapid transit project down Vermont Avenue, there could also be an extension of the Red Line heavy rail subway, straight through the heart of Los Angeles all the way to 120th Street in the neighborhood of Athens, including new connections with Metro's existing Green and Expo light rail lines. South of Gage Avenue, Metro Red Line trains will emerge from the tunnel and continue south along Metro's first elevated heavy rail viaduct. This will save Metro a whole lot of money and will allow funds from two previous sales taxes passed before 2016's Measure M to be used for the project. Due to fears that Metro's subway tunneling could cause a methane explosion similar to one that occurred underneath a Ross dress rehearsal in the 1980s, politicians of the time blocked the use of two transit funding taxes for underground tunneling. While it was later determined that a similar methane explosion to the one at Ross could not be triggered by Metro's tunneling, the ban remains in place, and those funds can still only be used for above-ground rail projects. The elevated section of the Red Line will continue along Vermont Avenue as far south as Athens, including a new connection with the Metro Green Line. None of this is to say that the Vermont Avenue subway extension is a done deal by any means. An extension of the Red Line subway to the Green Line is still only one out of 5 possible build alternatives Metro is considering for Vermont Avenue. So, in the coming months, it is imperative for those of us who recognize what a game changer this project could be to show up to community meetings related to Metro's Vermont Avenue project and voice our support for Build Alternative 5, bus rapid transit in addition to an extension of heavy rail from Wilshire to the Green Line. What do you think about this project? Was Mayor Garcetti right to include Vermont Avenue's transit project in his recent list of projects to accelerate and hopefully at least break ground in time for the 2028 Olympics? Do you think an elevated line not in the median of a polluted freeway would be more pleasant to ride than the Green Line? Let us know in the comments, and of course, thanks for tuning in. Please like this video and subscribe to Los Angeles for more videos on politics and transportation in Southern California.